This is historian Stephen Ujifus. I'm here at the uh, John Adams homestead, known as Peacefield, which John and Abigail Adams bought in the 1780s. And this house remained in the family until the 1920s. So that was an incredible span for a single house remaining in one family. But this became known as the Adams family homestead in Quincy. And the great historian Henry Adams, who is the role model for uh, all historians of American history, uh, the grandson and great grandson of presidents, Henry Adams would write that growing up, he found it very, very strange that while all of his friends in Boston went to fashionable resorts such as the North Shore, uh, he would instead go to Quincy, which was a much grittier place than these summer retreats. But this was the longtime homestead of the Adams family, and one of his earliest memories was when he refused to go to school. He did not want to go to school, and his grandfather, the former president John Quincy Adams, who had ended his days as a congressman, he had taken a huge status cut from being president to congressman, and famously argued the case of the Amistad uh, slaves who uh, had mutinied against their Spanish captors and ended up on the shores of uh, Connecticut, and they were tried. Uh, John Quincy Adams famously defended them, and they were acquitted. Uh, Henry Adams remembered his formidable grandfather taking his hand and walking him to school without a word and dropping him off. And that's all that was required. And Henry Adams was someone who had a lot of thoughts about the Industrial Revolution when he visited the Great Columbian Exposition in 1893. He spent hours looking at the gigantic electric dynamo. And he would later pen a famous essay called The Virgin and the Dynamo, in which he said, in the medieval era, the Virgin Mary was the most powerful cultural force in the Western world. And now, in the Industrial Revolution, the Gilded Age, the dynamo, the electric dynamo, has taken the place of the Virgin Mary as the most powerful cultural force in the Western world. But this house is a remarkable time capsule of a single family that has played such a prominent role in American history. And John Adams would write, I believe it was in the 1780s, that he must study war and politics so that his great grandchildren would study art and music and other fine things. And his prediction did come true, but they all achieved excellence in those fields. But I would wonder what Henry Adams and his grandfather, John Quincy Adams, and his great grandfather, uh, John Adams, would think about where we are as a country today. But visiting places like these gives me a sense of grounding and a sense of history and what we've been through and a sense of continuity. And this house miraculously is still here and is now open to the public and preserved. And it is now known as the Peacefield Historic Site, the Adams National Monument. And the one of the things that made the John Adams story so compelling was that unlike so many historical figures who we know from the colonial era and the revolutionary era, it's not just a story of war and politics, but it also is a love story in that John and Abigail Adams were devoted spouses, but also political partners, intellectual peers. And that's actually what separates John Adams in many ways from George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, and that their story was a story of romantic partnership as well as political partnership. It's also interesting comparing Peacefield with Monticello. The Monticello was a plantation operated by slaves, hundreds of slaves, including one of whom Jefferson fathered children with. And Thomas Jefferson write about the abstractions of liberty. He was a big fan of the French Revolution. He felt it was a glorious thing. John Adams, on the other hand, felt that the French Revolution was a very different kettle of fish than the American Revolution and predicted terrible things would happen. But John Adams, although he was a very successful attorney, he also worked the land himself. He and his wife never owned enslaved people on principle. And John Adams, in addition to his law practice, would work the land of this farm. And this house, compared to Monticello, which is an elegant Palladian structure, this is a no nonsense, although rather large, New England Yankee style house. And John Adams and his family retained ownership of this house until the 1920s. I mean, it helped that they married into the Brooks family, which had a shipping fortune. But the Jefferson family did not hold on to Monticello because of Jefferson being a total spendthrift and hoarder. But it is interesting that it was also here that not only did John Adams die on the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the same day as Thomas Jefferson, but it was also here that he exchanged letters with Jefferson in their old age about the meaning of what they did, what they accomplished back in the 1770s and early 1780s. And they had a long-standing political feud after the Revolution. They absolutely despised each other, had very different political ideals. But eventually, these two men did make up, and it was from this house that John Adams, as an old man in the 1810s and 1820s, would write prolific letters to Jefferson. This is historian Stephen Ujifusa in Quincy, Massachusetts. Thank you so much for listening.